Hello and welcome to the first episode of Timeout, the Basketball England podcast. We'll be giving you the chance to hear from the people behind the scenes at Basketball England, as well as features with stars and respected names in the English game. A great guest kicks off our first episode as Ian Cawthorne chats to Myerscough coach Neal Hopkins, where they talk about life at the academy, his influences as a coach, and his plans for the future.
If we sort of start with EABL, I mean, things at Myerscough are going pretty great. You're unbeaten this year, which is also pretty sweet. How's things up in Myerscough?
Yeah, they're good. We've taken maybe a slightly different route with the guys that we have this year. And this is really kind of from my experience with Great Britain and our exploits in Europe over the last 12 months it's really had a big difference, or made a big impact in the way in which we coach and the way in which we deliver our sessions and what we want to do within the academy, and it's starting to pay dividends. We've taken away a lot of the structure, and we're trying to train our guys up to be really efficient 1v1 players, and very good at read and react and bits and pieces like that. So in terms of from a coaching standpoint, it's a lot of people harp on about the redundancy of coaching and stuff. Well, that's not what we're trying to do exactly, but our influence, I guess, over the players, especially in games, we're trying to really step back, and it's paid great. Our progress has been fantastic this year. Ultimately, you're judged on winning and stuff like that, but the guys that we have this year, their potential moving forward in 5, 6, 7 years' time, I think is the highest that we've ever had, out of any group that we've had. So, yeah, so far so good, but a long way to go.
You talk about sort of taking a step back and changing your philosophy and how you sort of teach these players to sort of read and react and think for themselves. Was there anything that sort of prompted that for you? Was it a conversation or an encounter, or just something that you've been thinking along your coaching journey that was something you wanted to try and embrace?
I think it's difficult to really quantify what the British style is until you get a lot of experience outside of the UK. Obviously we only see a certain style in the UK, typically, and it's built around 1v1 play and athleticism. And I think until you actually go out of Europe, off the island, or away from the UK, that's only the real time when you start to realise the efficiency and the effectiveness that the British style can have. And when particularly when you see some of the most efficient teams in Europe, especially within the age group that we have. So you take Israel or even Spain. Now, Israel are a little bit different to Spain because the way in which they play basketball is it's about how efficient the players are playing 1v1 in a breakdown situation. Spain's slightly different, but Israel at the moment obviously set the gold standard with regards to their under-20s and in terms of the way in which they're developing their players. And I think it was something that I really looked at and obviously marvelled when I was out there in Israel for the under-20 championships, but also over the course of the last 12 months playing within the EYBL. If you go over to Europe and you try and play what is an atypical style of European basketball, which is, built around sets and built around kind of a very intricate system, it doesn't really work with the British players. One of the biggest reasons for that is because we don't start with that kind of stuff, at an early age. So we're already a little bit behind. So the thing for us is utilising what individuals have in terms of their skill set, in terms of their strengths, and trying to maximise that within a game. And that's kind of our evolution, I guess, over the last 12 months. And it's really worked. It's really worked for us. It gives the players a little less to think about in terms of having to run a set, bits and pieces like that. And it really, for us, the biggest thing that I've seen is that the players are just a lot more natural. And now it's not that we're not coaching. The biggest thing for us is that we've been teaching and coaching, principles and space in time, in tempo. These are the most important things now for us, and that's something the guys have bought into very well, and we've subliminally and utilised what they're very good naturally at, and that for us has made a huge difference.
You had a lot of success at the back end of last year in the EYBL. Is that something that you can take forward as well and continue building your programme with, and something you hope to continue doing as a programme, going out and taking part in that?
Yeah, it definitely is. And, there's little YouTube documentaries and bits and pieces like that, and actually we're doing some bits and pieces on the stage that we've just played just before Christmas. And, last year when we went in there, it was really wasn't unknown. And, now I think we consider ourselves at least a seasoned veteran of the European game. So, it's just for us, it's fantastic. It's it's a great breakaway. It's obviously an opportunity for our guys to play basketball at a different level and against different standard of players. A big thing for us, and a lot of teams will know that we're a big team in the UK in terms of our height, size, physicality, and stuff like that. But actually, in Europe, I was very surprised at the last stage of the EYBL in December. We were small, which changes the complexity of everything. And teams there's teams that are associated or carry players that have played, whether it's the Champions League or, for instance, last year, and I carry on talking about the wins that we got against Zalgiris, but now some of their players have had the fortune to play in the EuroLeague team. So we've seen guys that play at a very high level, and it's something that's really, really opened our eyes. And what we've done is we've become, I wouldn't say this year, for instance, we have a 9-1 record in the league. It's not that the league is any worse than it was last year. We've just become better at winning out there, and we've figured out what our style is, and we've taken a British style into Europe, and we've been effective with it. So it's been a really nice progression for us, and from a coach's standpoint as well, it's very refreshing.
Sounds pretty exciting, and that must be something that you kind of embrace in your job. Another side of it is obviously the recruitment side and bringing these players in that you can find success with. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of recruitment and how you go about it? I mean, take somebody like Franklin Agu, who's was ripping it up down in London. He was ready for the next stage of what he was doing. How do you go about talking to those players and bringing those players in?
I think a big thing for us is trying to, have a presence in terms of, our social media and our marketing and making sure that people are aware of what the brand is and, what we deliver. And I think we do a great job of that. We have a guy who works directly with us called Alan Gunn, who does a lot of our marketing and our social media, and he does an absolutely unbelievable job in terms of promoting the players that we have and promoting the program and what we have to offer. And I think that's kind of the first port of call for a lot of players is, or potential players is, our presence online and, our presence in terms of, our ability to market kind of what we do. We try and make it very evident as to what we do as well. It's very easy to follow Franklin's story. And I think that's something that nowadays the people that, or the young guys and girls that we look to bring in, I think that's something that they very, they value. So typically that's the first port of call for any player is, they might contact us through social media or they might contact us through email, and then, we open up line of communication from there. I think the recruitment thing is, it's obviously a very grey area, and it's, it's subject to a lot of scrutiny. The biggest thing that we try and do is make sure that people can see what we're doing. We have an open door policy. We have, an all access policy in terms of our media, in terms of access to the players and stuff. And I think that's very, very important in terms of, parents, players, even clubs understanding what the product here at Myerscough is.
In terms of Myerscough itself, you've been there for quite a while. What sort of is it that draws you to that environment? What makes you want to stay in the academy environment for now? What works for you?
Well, I set the basketball program up here. This is our 7th season, so we've gone from absolutely nothing, not even the college at one point hadn't even bounced the basketball, to obviously being one of the premier academies within the UK and having some presence within Europe. So our growth has been huge over the last 7 years, and I think really the thing about Myerscough that the main thing that attracted me to it was the blueprint that was in place already. That in terms of the campus environment, in terms of the sports that have succeeded us, rugby, football, and the other sports that are on offer here at Myerscough, and the blueprint was there. The support structure was there. And it was very easy from there, with the foundation in place, to start to implement, actually the basketball program. So, and then, the big thing for us is, and those that follow us on social media will know that our principal is very active and is a huge advocate of what we do, and that's very indicative of what happens here on the ground floor as well. We have a lot of support from the college, and I really truly think that if you work within an academic situation and that situation wants to support you, you should utilise it as much as possible, because ultimately it's helping grow, the British game. So that's, always something that I've been I've tried to find, and maybe we have a little bit of a utopia here. There's obviously other places within the UK that have that same support, and usually those places grow and grow and grow, and become a model of good practice. Funding and bits and pieces is always a difficult one, but we've been very fortunate to have some sponsors that have come in and helped us along our way. A big one for us is the Simpson Group, and another one is called Pure Leisure, and they've really kind of given us the cherry on top. And it hasn't been through luck; it's been through hard work and showing that we can produce a great product. And ultimately, the proof has been in the pudding for a lot of these people that have helped us, and they've continued their support. Based on our success.
Continuing that thread, talking about players, and obviously you've been in post now for quite a long time. What differences have you seen in the players that come to you in terms of the traits they have, or the things they already know, or the things that you're teaching now that you maybe didn't teach before? How's that game changed from your perspective?
I think that the biggest thing for us is that we've basketball's played for different reasons, and the academies are in place for different reasons. That obviously within the FE sector, that there's the need for enrichment, and there's the need to use potentially sport as a drive for academic, the academic side. I think now the environment that the academies are able to create is one that anyone is potentially accessible to basketball at what would consider almost like a professional level. The balance of strength and conditioning against the coaching session, in terms of the support, in terms of the structure, whether it's through the EDP program or whatever it may be. Anyone from any kind of background is accessible to that. Now, for us, what we've been able to do over the last 7 years is we've tried to push our first team up all the time. So we're quite tiered in terms of the structure of our program. Obviously, our first team, our very, very best players, the players that everyone beneath should be aspiring to get to in terms of their performance. We make sure that they sit on a pedestal that is very evident. So obviously they play out in the European League, and they play within Division 2. And then beneath that, what we've been able to do over the last few years is in progressing that group up, we've been able to put the second tier or the third tier, or those that are playing basketball for different reasons. We've been able to push them into a higher level than potentially than they're used to. So that tiering is very, very important. And there's a lot of other programs that do very similar things in terms of where they place their higher guys. And I think that's one of the biggest evolutions. I think there's always a conundrum that we face every year, and I know this will be for other programs as well, in terms of the volume of students that come into these academies. But what the consideration has to be, what these students need or what they need from the sport. We've had some. I don't want to dive too hard into it, but over the years, people the use of basketball, the reason why young people would use sport, varies completely. Not everyone is going to progress to get a scholarship in America. Not everyone is going to progress to be a national team player. But actually, within an academy structure now, the life skills that a lot of students are able to learn, is unbelievable. And I think that again, the proof is within the pudding. And actually, if you look at the mapping of the students that have progressed from an academy to university or into work or into something as a progression is extremely high. So that outcome, whether it's playing in the States or whether it's playing for Great Britain or whether it's being a better human, the outcome is outstanding through the academy structure. I think that's something that should be really marvelled.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Is there anything that you get most satisfaction from, or aim to try and do the most with it? When you've got a kid that goes and plays D1 in the States, is that better, or something you aspire to more than just some kid that comes in that you think, I'm not quite sure this is right for him or her, but then ultimately they get enjoyment from it? Yeah,
it's a great question, because what do we do this for? What do we do all these hours for? What do we pour this time into? And what do we put these structures together for? It's ultimately, I think and I see it on social media and other places, people questioning this generation of people, people saying, it's the lost generation, it's the generation that's not in touch, it's the entitled generation, yada, yada, yada. But actually, it's not easy to come to an academy and to be a young person, in this society. And, I think our ultimate goal is to lead someone to the route, to something that they want to get to within life. And I think actually coaching someone or teaching someone, about what's required in such an environment that's so closed, and it can be very intense, and there's a lot of pressures that you feel within sport that you don't feel within anywhere else. I think actually the life lessons that we're able to teach, and the fact that a lot of our students walk away, having really gained a lot in terms of who they are. I think that's very, very important. Everyone's outcome and everyone's expectation is completely different. Managing that is probably the biggest task as a coach or as a mentor. Managing their expectation versus ours is for sure is the biggest task. But if we know that they're making progress and we know that they're becoming more employable or more playable or whatever it may be, I think that's hugely important, and that is the one thing that I take more satisfaction out of anything else. They don't have to like me through that process. They might not have to like their boss eventually, but what they need to do is learn how to operate and function and be successful within society. And I think that's something that we work very, very hard on.
As a coach or a program lead, despite being relatively young in terms of sort of coaching terms, you've had a lot of experience. You've been around GB, you've got EABL. You talked about going out to Europe. There's obviously the BBL element there with sort of Mersey, Manchester, your NBL as well. There's lots of different hats. What appeals most to you, and what have you taken from those different things that now help you with the job that you're doing now?
I think it's the variety of it all. I started in the BBL when I was 22, I think. Maybe I was 22, and my first outstanding experience from the BBL was driving the Mersey Tigers, the championship winning team, down to Essex. And I think the first time I was in the locker room with those players, Coach Garbaletto put some pressure on me and asked me for some feedback in front of the guys. And I think from that point in, it was really I was just desperate to learn, especially during my 20s and stuff. Just desperate to learn and desperate to take on experiences and make sure that I tried everything that I possibly could. My life's changed a little bit now because myself and my partner have a little boy. So my needs have changed, as they do. But I've always come back to the junior stuff. I've always found probably more benefit, in that. And I felt that my expertise, if you want to call it that, or my knowledge, I think has always been. I've always really wanted to, use that to better the young guys, and I think that's something that I can't get away from it for some reason, and but if that's what it needs to be, then that's where it is. I've had the taste of the BBL, and I've worked at other academies, and I've gone through this process before, and have done the stuff within Division 1, and I've had success and I've had failure, and I've even had some experiences abroad, which I've just tried as much as I possibly could, and I think that's so important for basing who I am and what I am. But ultimately, I come back to this age group, and this is the age group that and the area that I feel that I make the most impact on within the structure that we have within the UK. So this is ultimately where I land.
If we're talking about other coaches, you've got a pretty star-studded lineup, or certainly a set of staff that is quite interesting to talk about. If pick Mike Bernard, who's obviously a very decorated player and came over to you. Yeah. What's it like to work with Mike? How did that happen?
Well, I initially was working with Mike as an assistant coach when I was assistant coach at the Manchester Giants, and obviously Mike was one of the players that we signed in what was the second coming of the Manchester Giants, and Mike joined us at the back end of his career, and from there really I made a really good bond with Mike, and as with a lot of those guys, the Joneses, Stephen Gill obviously is over here now working with us as our S&C coach, and a lot of those guys had a really good relationship with through the Giants, and Mike was someone actually. The funny story about this is when we initially started the basketball program, the college wanted to reward someone for their contributions to basketball, and and offer them a fellowship. And certain people like David Moyes and Freddie Flintoff have been awarded fellowships through the college before, and I really thought that Mike was someone that not obviously his career abroad has maybe stopped him from doing what he wants to do within the UK in terms of giving back. But now he's, actively giving back to so many people, and I really wanted to, show him how much, I appreciate everything that he's done, and even when I was a young coach, an assistant coach at the Giants, his patience and his mentality towards me is something that's really driven me forward. So, Mike was awarded that fellowship, so he's kind of stuck with us forever. I think whether he's here in person, but definitely he's stuck here. As a honorary fellow of the college, so I've tied him in, which is great. But yeah, Mike's. I can't speak highly enough of the guy in terms of his, relationship with the players, in terms of what he's able to give back. And I think that's such an important thing. I haven't got the professional experience in terms of a player. I've done it as a coach, but as a player, the perspective is completely different. And that's exactly why we have Stephen Gill here as well. And I think they're very relatable guys. And, they know the process, know how it all works. They know how to like and dislike coach in the right way, and I think that's very, very important, and they teach our guys, a hell of a lot of lessons.
Another one of your guys, obviously, Troy Cully's just been appointed as the under-16 boys coach for GB. What does it feel like to have assistants go on and do those things? Obviously, you've seen Troy put in the hard yards and now getting the rewards for it.
Yeah, it's great, and I'm really grateful, that Troy, is here with us, and Troy is definitely the yin to Mike's yang, and the balance between the pair of them is fantastic. And Troy, as everyone knows, is meticulous. He's a planner. He's someone that really understands the game at a very, very high level. And I spent quite a lot of time just maybe subliminally or making sure that Troy was put at the right, was put out there in the right kind of way, and I've taken a back seat in terms of, and I try and do this with obviously with the coaches and make sure that Troy's, I don't want this program isn't about Neal Hopkins, it's about everyone, and I think Troy's really reaped the rewards of, his hard work and effort, and he's had the right opportunities here at Myerscough at the right time, and, I think that's been, has helped him in a huge way in terms of balancing, his basketball understanding and his coaching, and his, obviously his academic, his academic progress that he's made over the years. So his progress has been, unbelievable. And he's a hugely committed person, and especially to his own development. And I think now that he has, all those feathers in his hat, I think now it's time for him to roll his sleeves up, and obviously with the Great Britain stuff, that's a great great bit of progress for him. It's time to roll his sleeves up and really go to work with it. He has all the knowledge, he has all the the contextual stuff. It's all there in the locker. So now it's time to up his game as a basketball coach, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does over this summer. He's super excited about it, and it's something that we're obviously very proud of as a program to see Troy's progress over the years.
We discussed earlier on, you were talking about how you were trying to push that top tier of your program a little bit higher and make sure that you're always raising the standards. But that said, you've still had some great players come through the doors in the previous years that you've been doing things. I had the joy of watching you guys, I think, win the National Shield down in Worcester a number of years ago. Are there any players that stick out in your mind in the time that you've been doing it that you enjoyed for one reason or another, talent-wise or personality-wise or both?
Yeah, I said this recently. We had a little online thing for Team of the Decade, a bit of fun, and I said it. Every player that we've had, and this is not the diplomatic answer, but this is something genuine. Everyone that we've had, no matter what impact that they've had on that in terms of their playing performance, has changed our program in a little way. Everyone has their own little quirk and their little challenge, and it's been, for me, that's such an honour and a privilege to work with everyone that's come through. In terms of basketball. There's so many. Obviously, in recent years, Mate Okras was someone that's really, really enjoyed playing with. Really enjoyed coaching. His professional nature and all the way in which he treats the game is something that is very rare, and you don't tend to see that so much these days. So Mate is one that's definitely stood out to me. The likes of Alex Roberts, who's now down at Loughborough. His competitive edge and the way in which he really led the program, I think, especially during the 2014-15 year, and is another guy that's sticks in my mind, and a lot of them I keep in touch with. There's certainly been a few international guys that have spiced things up. Eduardo Delcadia was one in particular who's now having a huge season over in Florida at junior college, and he's been heavily recruited in some Division 1 schools. Zion Tordoff, one of the Bradford guys, comes from an outstanding family. His parents are unbelievable, and his success has been through so many trials and tribulations, but what he's doing now at Marist is great. So it's fantastic to follow all of them, and I have my own individual stories, and for each and every one of them that have come through. But those are a few of the guys that do stand out. But like I said, everyone here that's come through the program has left a legacy, and there's not one of them I don't remember. So it's that should tell you kind of what our relationship is like with the guys when they come in, and girls.
A quick word on Callan Lowe as well. It must have been pretty special to have a Commonwealth Games participant on your books as well. Yeah,
Cal, the youngest ever, in terms of the Scottish team, and Cal is, I always refer to him as the warrior. He's at Newbury College now, and he's having a great freshman year. And again, there's a backstory to Cal that not many people will understand, but his resilience, hard work, and his attitude to sport has been, he's someone to truly marvel. And I think if junior players ever do listen to this or read this, that and they want to know about what it means to make it to the next level, and what it takes. I think Callan Lowe is someone that people should definitely contact and reach out to and ask, because there's a lot about Callan that that should be shared, and I think that his progress within the sport and what he's done has been outstanding, considering a lot of the circumstances that Callan has to deal with. So yeah, it's he's definitely the one that we're immensely proud of.
We've talked about where you started. We've talked about the things that you've done along the way. It seems natural to sort of wrap up talking about where you're going to go from here. What does the future hold for Neal Hopkins, do you think? It's
a difficult question, and right now we're focusing on this season, and I've got a few things to wrap up academically, just completing a dissertation and a few other bits and pieces. So that's my priority right now. In terms of basketball, obviously my commitment is here with Myerscough, and to British basketball. Obviously, I said before, my life has changed significantly over the last 2.5 years. My commitment to my family needs to be something that I really work on, versus basketball. I think ultimately depends on what opportunities arise within the UK and potentially further afield, and we'll kind of see from there. But right now, I'm really enjoying working with the staff and the players that we have here, and I'm looking forward to the foreseeable future. I'm looking forward to having some success here.
No problems. I really appreciate that, Neal. It's been a good chat. Half an hour's flown by, and I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem at all. So hopefully is of use.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Timeout podcast. Why not give us a like and a follow on our Basketball England SoundCloud channel, and let us know what you think or who you would like to hear from in a future episode.